Childhood trauma does not disappear with time. It becomes the hidden root of your anxiety, your emotional blocks, and your need to constantly perform. This video exposes, without filters, how those early wounds shape your adult life and how to begin disarming them at the deepest level. Stay until the end to discover the invisible origin of your pain. Some memories don't fade because they weren't just moments, they were fractures. This isn't nostalgia or drama, it's something else. It's the echo that travels across years, stages, and versions of you that try to escape. Childhood trauma is not a closed chapter. It's a silent structure that reorganizes how you perceive the world, how you react, how you connect. There is no harsher punishment than growing up learning not to feel, not to trust, not to expect anything, and many inherit that punishment without even knowing it. Not all trauma comes from direct violence. Sometimes it comes from conditional affection, from words that never arrived, from the hug that was never given, from the fear not of what happened, but of what never happened. A child who grows up unseen, unvalidated, or unprotected doesn't need to be hit to break. They only need emotional abandonment, lonely companionship, love that demands sacrifice. That child grows up believing love must be earned, silence is normal, and feeling is dangerous. The body remembers what the mind tries to forget. A racing heart with no clear reason, unexplained insomnia, constant exhaustion, disproportionate reactions. These are not personal flaws. They are biological responses, signals from a system that never felt safe. A traumatized child's nervous system is programmed for survival, not for calm. And that programming doesn't disappear with time. It carries on. It turns into anxiety, obsessive control, destructive relationships, self-sabotage. Because childhood trauma doesn't just mark the past, it hijacks the present. Many adults live as if something terrible is about to happen at any moment, even when everything is calm. Others don't even know what they feel, because feeling was never safe in childhood. Some repeat exactly what destroyed them, not because they choose to, but because it's all they know. You can grow up believing that being loved means sacrificing yourself, disappearing, becoming perfect, because that's what you learned, and that's what you repeat, without realizing you're still trapped in that cold childhood home. The cruelest thing about trauma is that it doesn't present itself as a wound, it presents itself as personality. It doesn't say "this hurt me." It says "this is who I am," but that isn't true. We are not who trauma taught us to be. We've just interpreted it that way for too long. Childhood trauma, and forgotten. It integrates into reflexes, habits, automatic choices that feel like free will. It lives in the impulse to pull away when someone gets too close, in the constant need to prove your worth, as if your existence had to be justified at every step, in the discomfort when everything is fine, because chaos was always your normal. No one explained it to you, but your body understood. Vulnerability was dangerous. So, you grew up disconnected from yourself, numbing what hurt, but also numbing what made you feel alive. This isn't about blame or victimhood. It's about understanding, about seeing how an unsafe childhood can shape every corner of your adult life. Because it's not about what happened, it's about how you experienced it. A shout may not hurt if it comes from someone who loves you, but the constant silence of someone who should have protected you can become a void no success ever fills. What a child needs, imperfection, its presence, validation, a safe place where they don't have to defend themselves to be loved. That safe place didn't always exist, and those who never had it often become adults who don't know how to rest, who distrust calm, who compensate with productivity what they were denied in affection. Because if you weren't enough as a child, you tried to be enough as an adult, not out of ambition, but out of emotional survival. This is how performance culture is born, a desperate response to the absence of unconditional love. The obsession with success and driven only by ambition, but by millions of open wounds searching for approval. But the body doesn't lie, and one day, that danger-adapted system begins to collapse. Chronic anxiety and weakness, it's a hyperactivated nervous system. Persistent insomnia and lack of discipline, it's a mind that never learned safety. Emotional blocks, difficulty trusting, extreme reactions. These are protective mechanisms, not defects. What couldn't be processed got trapped, and what got trapped still speaks to you every day, through symptoms, conflicts, and decisions you don't understand. Childhood trauma and a memory. It's deep programming that can run your entire life without you noticing. But understanding it doesn't mean surrendering to it. It means recognizing that many of your wounds aren't your fault, but they are your responsibility. Because what is inherited unconsciously gets repeated, and what is named with courage can begin to be released. Healing childhood trauma is not a motivational slogan. It's a raw, slow, deeply human process. It doesn't happen instantly. It has no formula. It begins the moment you start noticing the patterns you once called normal. When you stop justifying pain and start recognizing its origin. When you realize that your anxiety didn't begin in adulthood, but in a childhood where calm was a luxury. Healing isn't about forgetting, it's about living with what happened without letting it keep deciding for you. Trauma is passed down through looks, gestures, and the tone you use with your children. It's transmitted unintentionally when you repeat what you swore you'd never do because no one taught you another way. Childhood doesn't only mark the one who lived it, it also shapes those who come after. That doesn't make you guilty, but it does demand awakening. Because repeating pain is easy, breaking the cycle, on the other hand, is a silent revolution. It means admitting that love wasn't enough, protection was missing, and something inside you broke before you had words for it. Neuroscience confirms it. A wounded brain doesn't function the same way. The amygdala becomes overactive, the hippocampus shrinks, the prefrontal cortex shuts down. These aren't exaggerated emotions, they're structures altered by pain. What the child couldn't process, the adult repeats, and without awareness, that becomes destiny. But it doesn't have to. Neuroplasticity is real. Transformation isn't an illusion, it's a biological and emotional possibility. It requires work, yes, but above all, it requires decision. Reconnecting with the body is essential, because trauma doesn't live only in memory, it lives in held breath, tense shoulders, a closed stomach. Learning to listen to these signals matters more than understanding theories. This isn't just about intellectually knowing what happened, it's about feeling it, moving through it, allowing it to leave the places where it's been suppressed for years. Somatic therapies, writing, art, movement not as distraction, but as expression for what never had a channel, and not everything heals in isolation. Some wounds need to be witnessed. Some relationships rebuild what childhood broke. This isn't a cliché, connection can heal, because just as trauma formed in relationship, it can also be transformed in a different one where you no longer have to silence yourself to be accepted, where vulnerability isn't a threat, but a bridge. Childhood trauma isn't chosen, but healing is, and that changes everything. If this resonated with you, don't ignore it. Like the video, subscribe, and activate notifications. Explore our channel for more content to help you understand your emotional history. Leave a comment if something moved you. See you in the next video.